Right then, as promised, I thought I'd do a quick little video about how I am making my maps and the resources that I'm using. And it may, do you know what I mean? It may help somebody. I can only talk about my experiences. Do you know what I mean? I'm no expert. I'm just doing it because you know, I need to, and obviously I've made some mistakes as I've been going along, but you know, so that's why I thought I'd do this video, so I can sort of say this is how I have carried on and done my mapping for my campaign. Just a quick word about mapping. Obviously, in like wargaming and stuff, maps are really important. If you want to run any form of linked game, well, no, but in the main, if you're running a campaign of maybe 2 or 3 linked games, and ideally you do want maps. I mean, you have to map battlefields, don't you? I mean, you can randomly roll up a battlefield, but if you want to prepare it and build a scenario, the maps are important because that's where you store all of the hindrances to your troops and where they're going to be and where they come from, and you know, the terrain restricts movement or gives advantages to certain troops and stuff. So yeah, maps are quite important in aspect of what we do. So hence why I'm going and doing quite a lot of mapping, because it's going to play quite a key role in my campaign, because it is what determines the amount of time it takes for one unit to get from A to B, and whether or not that unit can remain in supply, because obviously, without going into too much detail, ideally, you know, for a unit or force to be in supply, it's got to be able to trace a route back to its nearest supply base, unbroken of course, but you can only do that if you're using maps. You know, you can't sort of work those sort of things out in your head. You need to be able to see them. So that's why, in my view, maps are important. So anyway, so how have I gone about making mine? Well, the first thing I did is I went online and I tried to find hex paper, where to buy hex paper from. Now you can buy hexagon paper. I can't say the word hexagonal. I have to sound like, you know, some sort of primary school child when I say it. I have to slow it right down. Hexagonal paper. And obviously you can buy it, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can buy books, all the stuff, you know, like you can buy graph paper. But more useful, I found, was that you can download PDF paper. So basically, there are plenty of sites. I'll put some links down in the thing to the sites that I went to find hex paper and other sorts of graph paper. You can there's one site that's really good. You can generate any size of graph paper you want with any sort of measurements you want. So, and the reason why I went for PDF stuff is because obviously PDF's a digital format. And the beauty of PDF is that if you have some form of software like Photoshop or the GIMP being the GNU image manipulation program, you're able to open up the PDF as a transparent layer. Now if you get an A4 or US letter sized one, that gives you a standard size of page, so you can print that out and it prints out as an A4 or a US letter or an international letter or whatever it is that format you've got, which makes joining them up when you're printing them out really easy. So what I've done is I imported or opened up the PDFs in my case Photoshop, because that's what I've got. Just a quick word about Photoshop. Photoshop used to be really expensive piece of software to buy, and it still is if you buy it. If you buy the full version of Photoshop, but you can get Photoshop elements, and I believe that Adobe have this sort of like subscription program now. So you sort of, I think my son got it for college, for his college. I think he's paying something like about £8, £8 UK a month for 12-month sort of use of Photoshop. So you know, it's not out of anybody's league if you want to do it seriously. If you want to, you know, if you want to take Photoshop seriously. But there are free programs like the GIMP, and I'll put a link in to that as well. And I'm sure there are other graphics programs that you can use. But the key features that you need is something that can support transparent layers, because without transparent layers you can't build up the map, because you don't want to be drawing everything on one piece of paper. So if you're using stuff like Windows Paint, then you're gonna hit problems. Anyway, so you open up your PDF in Photoshop and you can just draw away. What I actually did was that I printed out my piece of paper, my hex paper, and I drew on with a biro, and I drew me map outline, scanned it in, and then opened up the scanned image in Photoshop as the lower layer of the map. The issue with that is the fact that when you print anything out, if it says A4 or US letter or whatever it is, sometimes some printers scale down to the printable area or things that are outside. So when I scanned it in and brought it back in, it was slightly smaller, so I just sort of increased the size slightly so as it filled the area again. You just have to watch for that, because but that's irrelevant at the moment for what I'm doing, because then what I did is I traced the outline in the graphics application using a digital pen. And this brings me on to another bit of technology that is not essential, but if you can get hold of one, they're just so much better. It makes the world go a lot faster. And that's a graphics tablet. And once again, there are loads of different levels of graphics tablets. I'm fortunate in as much that I went out and got myself an Intuos Pro graphics tablet, mainly because I can use that for work anyway. But Trust do one for about, I think they're about £30. You've got Intuos do, they used to do bamboo, but I think they've dropped, they don't do bamboo anymore. I don't know what they call it, but they've got like a consumer level one for about £50 or £60. Now the good thing about these is that you get software with them in a lot of cases, especially the Intuos ones, or the Intuos or Wacom, a company called Wacom, and I'll put a link into that Wacom as well. And you can get bundled software and with some of their tablets. The higher end tablets, like I bought, don't come with any software in the European market, but in the US market they do. And I think you can get in the US. I think you get like Photoshop Elements with it, which is what we're after, or what you really want to get hold of, because you know Elements is a good program. Elements itself, I think in the UK costs to buy about £90 on a software license. So as you can see, you can spend money if you want to, but you don't have to. You don't have to use a graphics tablet. I can't talk about using stuff like them tablet computer things, like Android tablets and the iPad and stuff, because I don't have one and I don't know what they're like. But I do know that Wacom produce pens for them, and a digital pen. I'll show you what a digital pen looks like. That's a digital pen. It's just a pen. It looks exactly the same as a normal pen, but it doesn't write no ink in it because the ink's on a computer. And anyway, what I did with that is then trace the outline of my map. And once I'd traced the outline of my map, I mean, you could quite easily just do the whole lot in Photoshop or in your graphics package if that's what you want. So I just lost my train of thought then, because I just had an inspirational idea. But I'd started before I started using the tablet, so that's why I scanned in. And then once I'd scanned it in and I got hold of my daughter's tablet, I drew over the top of it. The next thing you want to be doing is looking around for inspiration for icons. Now, there's loads of fonts you can get. You can, if you look about on a lot of the font sites and things, you can find. I didn't use fonts because I drew my own, but you can look for map fonts or fonts called Windigs or Windings, sorry, and you can find loads of these different image type fonts. And if you're only using them for yourself, I think they're usually free for personal use, but if you're thinking of doing anything commercial with them, then you have to buy a license. But you can use those, and if you are using stuff like Photoshop, you install the fonts to your computer, and you can basically type out the terrain, as it were. So, you know, like a capital E might be a mountain in this font, and you position it over your hex. That's the other bit as well. Once you've got your image scanned in to the computer or on the thing, you can then open up your PDF file again, your PDF hex file or graph paper, and you can overlay that on the top. And at that point, you have a grid system over the top of your drawing. If you duplicate that layer, you can then start to fill terrain ideas in. So that's a useful thing to be able to do, which is why having a piece of software that can support, you know, transparent layers is a must if you're going to make digital maps. The reason I'm not going on about paper maps is because everybody can draw paper maps. I'm just going on about how I've creating mine and what I'm doing. And that's about it, really. There's nothing rocket science about it. So you just need to get yourself some digital paper, some digital, a PDF grid, some sort of graphics package like Photoshop or the GIMP or Photoshop Elements, and I can't think of anything else because I don't know any others. Something to draw with, and I recommend a graphics tablet like a Bamboo tablet or a Trust tablet. I'll show you what a graphics tablet is just in case you're a bit confused about what one of them is. But they're generally like, oops, they look like that. They're sort of like a thing, and they've usually got a USB cable that you plug in, and you can, you just draw on that, and it draws on the computer screen. So, yeah, let me put that down. And away you go. You can just create as many layers as you want in your layered application and draw away. Now, there is other routes in and things that you can get, and one of those is Campaign Cartographer. Campaign Cartographer is a very, very, very good fancy map or map making. I mean, you can use it for anything because it's a CAD system. And I use Campaign Cartographer a bit. It is a bit overkill for what I'm doing at the moment, but what I will be doing in the future is transposing some of my local regional and localized maps into Campaign Cartographer, because at that, once it's in some system like that, you can. It's just mind-blowing what you can do, but for the purposes of what I'm doing now, it's a bit too much. I suppose eventually I will import everything into Campaign Cartographer and redraw it, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing it in the way I am, because I'm making sure that I have a sea layer, a coast layer and a land layer in all of my images, because when I bring those into Campaign Cartographer, I can just use the coastline layer, so I haven't got loads of gumph. I can just draw the shape, and it's you know, it makes it easier in the future. So that's another thing to bear in mind. If you are thinking of using campaign cartographer, then you know, you might want to ensure that you keep at least those 3 layers separate. You don't do any merging, and if by merging is when in a multiple layered graphics package you can actually merge layers down so they become one layer, at which point they're uneditable as separate entities. You have to redraw them again, or if you did it more than 20 undos ago, then you're pretty much screwed. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm making my maps. Any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best. Like I say, this is the first big project I've done using Photoshop, mainly because in my mind I needed to be quick. Doing it in campaign cartography ain't necessarily the fastest option, but I just needed to get a world built quickly, and this seemed about the quickest way to do it. So there will be more to come in this. This is just an introduction. I will be doing a lot more stuff, and I'll probably do some screen captures and things in the future, because they're probably more useful than me sitting here talking to the camera. But yeah, have fun, keep gaming, keep mapping, keep hobbying. Catch you later. Bye.